Okay, so hopefully you learned that radians and degrees work together. And what we learned yesterday was 180 degrees was the same as 1 radian or 1 pi. I mean, not 1 radian, but pi radians. So there's an easy way to do this. Whatever you're going to, that's what's going to go on top. So for example, if you're going 2 degrees, that's what you're trying to solve for, you're going to put degrees on top. If you're going 2 radians, like we're going to do here, we're going from degrees to radians, we know we're going to multiply by pi over 180. So if I show my work here, this is 36 times pi over 180 degrees. The degrees cross out and we'll end up with pi's. Okay, I'm going to simplify. I know this is the same thing as 36 pi over 180. And if I simplify that on my calculator, both of these divide by 6. Okay. And I know that it would be one. If you want to use a calculator, you could. I was doing this in my head. And the way I was doing it in my head was I was saying, if it's easier for you, I was doing this divided by 6 is 6 pi. This divided by 6 is going to be 30. So now when we look at this, right, we now know this is going to be pi over 5, which is my final answer. Pi over 5. Okay, 45. Again, I'm going 2 radians, so pi goes on top. So I'm going to cross multiply here, or I'm going to cross simplify here. These both divide by 5, if you think of it this way, or 45 goes into this 4 times, because 45 and 45 is 90. So this equals pi over 4. Okay, 60. 60 times pi over 180. That 60 times 3 is 180. That's pi over 3. Okay, when I get down here to 210, it's going to be 210 times pi over 180. If I simplify, there's an easy way to do this. The zeros cross out. Both of these divide by 3. I get 7 pi's. That's 7. That's 6. Or 7, 6 pi. Okay, 30 times pi over 180. 30 pi over 180. The zeros cross out. That's pi over 6. Last one's on this page, and I think you'll get the gist. So 100 times pi over 180. If I take that and do this, the zeros cross out. They both divide by 2. That's 5 pi over 6. And finally, 58 times pi over 180. If you don't know this, I might do this as maybe divide by 2. 58 divided by 2 is 29 pi's over 90, and 20, that is simplified, because 29 is a prime number. Okay, if you look at the back, so this is the exact opposite. We're going 2 degrees. I'm trying to solve 2 degrees. So instead of being pi over 180, I'm now going to put 180 on the top over pi, because I know they're really the same thing. It's like 1 over 1. Okay, so I'm going to take pi over 4 times 180 over pi. The pi's cross out. 180 divided by 4 is 45 degrees. Pi over 2 times 180 over pi. 180 divided by 2, 90 degrees. Pi over 6 times 180 over pi. My pi's cross out. 180 divided by 6, 30 degrees. 3 pi over 4 times 180 over pi. My pi's cross out. You can either multiply these first, or I like to simplify this. This becomes 1. 4 goes into 180, I believe 45 times. So that becomes 45, and 45 times 3 is going to be 135 degrees. Okay. 5 pi over 6 times, times 180 over pi. Again, the pi's cross out, the 6 cross out, because 6 goes into 18 3 times, so that's 30. 5 times 30 is 150 degrees. Okay, 3 pi over 8 times 180 over pi. The pi's cross out. I know both of these. 180 divided by 8 is 22.5. You could do that. Or you could do something smaller. 22.5 works. If I cross this out, that's 22.5 times 3. That's 67.5 degrees. Okay. And finally, 7 pi over 12 times 180 over pi. My pi's cross out. 180 divided by 12 is 15. So that becomes 15. That becomes a 1. And 15 times 7 is 105 degrees. So my big trick is whatever you're going to, whatever your answer is going to be, if you're going 2 degrees, it's going to be 180 on the top and pi on the bottom. If you're going 2 radians or pi's, you put pi over 180.